Three news stories for you. At the end of the three news stories, I'll respond to a question. A viewer asks, why is that the EU and the US are delaying sanctions on Ethiopian, Eritrean governments and TPLF? They announced that sanctions could be imposed if there is no progress towards peaceful resolution to Tigray conflict. No signs of any peaceful solution. Instead, Ethiopian government has started a major offensive on TDF in Amhara. No signs of any sanctions from the EU and the US. Why is that? We'll discuss that in detail. Before that, three news stories. Firstly, uh, an official who worked as a senior official in Tigray's interim setup has applied for asylum. He has fled Ethiopia. His name is Gabriel Meskel Kasa. He worked as chief of staff in Tigray's interim setup. When war started in Tigray in November and TPLF government had to retreat to mountainous areas, Ethiopian federal government installed an interim setup, and Gabriel Meskel Kasa was working as chief of staff, a senior official in that interim setup. Back then, he had issued some statements against Eritrean forces. He had called for the withdrawal of Eritrean forces from Tigray. He had talked about the presence of Amhara forces, that they were involved in expelling Tigrayans from western Tigray. Then in June, we saw that TDF took control of Mekelle. This interim setup came to an end. Now, Gabriel Meskel Kasa has fled Ethiopia. He talked to some international news outlets. He confirmed that he was seeking asylum in a country outside Ethiopia. Why is he seeking asylum? He says that Ethiopian federal officials blamed Tigray's interim setup for the defeat of Ethiopian National Defense Force in Tigray. That is why he was worried about his security and he decided to flee Ethiopia. Earlier, we saw another top official who worked in Tigray's interim setup arrested by Ethiopian government. He was Abraha Dasta, who is behind the bars, viewers. He worked as senior official in Tigray's interim setup. He is from Tigray's Arena party. He wrote a letter to Ethiopian government condemning ethnic cleansing of Tigrayans, and then he has been arrested a few days ago. Now he is in prison. These officials who were in Tigray's interim setup, they were targets of TDF attacks as well. Several were killed in attacks from TDF fighters. Now Ethiopian government is after them. One is in prison and the other has fled Ethiopia. Secondly, viewers, on the 30th of September, referendum was held in some places of SNNPR, Southern Nations, Nationalities and Peoples Region, state of Ethiopia. These places were demanding a separate region. A few hours ago, Ethiopian Election Commission announced the results of this referendum. Ethiopian Election Commission says that more than 96% of voters voted in support of a separate region. So, Kafa, Shika, Benchiku, Davoru, West Omo and Konta Special District, these places will now comprise a separate region. Results of this referendum will be submitted in Ethiopian House of Federation, which will definitely approve the formation of 11th region of Ethiopia. Ethiopia has 10 regions or 10 states. Now this 11th region will be another region. We have seen movements in SNNPR for separate regions. Wilaytas have also been struggling for a separate region, but Kafas seem to have secured a separate region. Lastly, viewers, some sources are saying that Turkey has decided to send its navy to Somali waters. Somalia requested deployment of Turkish Navy a year ago. Now Turkey is about to send its navy to Somali waters for the exploration of oil deposits in Indian Ocean. A very significant development if it is confirmed, because after 2 days, International Court of Justice is due to announce a verdict regarding Somalia-Kenya maritime dispute. Kenya has announced that it will not accept, it won't recognize the decision of ICJ, as ICJ proceedings were not impartial and fair. The decision is expected to be in support, in favor of Somalia. Who will implement this decision? It's not clear. If Turkey decides to intervene in support of Somalia, we could see confrontation between Kenya and Somalia backed by Turkey. We are waiting for some official confirmation from Turkish sources. Is Turkey sending its navy to Somali waters in Indian Ocean or not? If it's confirmed, it could lead to a huge confrontation between Kenya and Turkey. Lastly, words, a viewer asks, why is that the US and the EU are delaying sanctions? The US President signed an executive order a few days ago. Joe Biden said that if Tigray conflict is not resolved peacefully, US will impose sanctions, tough sanctions on Ethiopia, Eritrea and TPLF as well. Then 2 days ago we heard from the EU. EU Parliament passed a resolution with overwhelming majority. It gave a deadline of October, that if Tigray conflict is not resolved till the end of October, EU will impose sanctions on the stakeholders, on the parties to Tigray conflict. Now, war has once again intensified. Ethiopian government has started a major offensive on Amhara. And EU and US are just saying that they will impose sanctions. Why they're not imposing sanctions now? Well, firstly, they do not want to exercise all their options at once. If they impose sanctions now, what will be left? They want to announce measures gradually. They want to keep some options available, firstly. Secondly, this new offensive was coming. Everyone knew about it. We have seen some communication between EU diplomats from the Horn that Ethiopia was planning this offensive for almost more than a month. So it was coming. Everyone knew about it. I think the EU and the US, they are giving this one last chance to the parties to Tigray conflict to resolve this conflict militarily. They'll wait for the next 3 weeks, then they'll impose sanctions. And you could see some very tough sanctions on Ethiopian and Eritrean governments. there could be sanctions on TPLF as well. So this seems to be the last chance given by the EU and the US to the parties to Tigray conflict, that resolve this conflict militarily if you can. Otherwise, sanctions are coming, very tough sanctions. Thanks for watching.